Exciting new study just dropped, everyone, and it's very relevant to me and probably to you if you use social media or computers. Harming competition and consumers under the guise of protecting privacy, an analysis of Apple's iOS 14 policy updates. Oh shit, you guys, what if privacy is bad? Okay, so let's start with some background. iOS 14 is Apple's latest operating system for their iPhones. It was released back in September of 2020, and as of the 14.5 update that arrived around the end of April, it now forces apps to ask you, the user, if they can track your personal data across other apps and websites. Often apps want to track your data because of advertising. The more a corporation knows about you, the more efficient it is for them to advertise to you and get your business. Like if my company sells dog biscuits and I have to pay $1 for every pamphlet I print out and I only have $100, would I rather hand out 100 pamphlets to 100 random people on the street, or would I rather give those pamphlets to 100 dog owners? Obviously the latter, but how do I find out who owns a dog and who doesn't? Well, if I can see what they're searching for on Google or what Facebook groups they join, I'll better know where to put my money. So Google and Facebook can offer you free services like email and a Facebook profile page so that they can take your data and then share it with me. So I know that when I pay to place ads on Facebook, it's going to better target my customers than if I pay to place my ads somewhere else. They might also share it with companies for other reasons, like trading for their company's data or other deals like that. So it's a win-win until you maybe start to wonder if it's worth it for you to have a free Facebook profile page if it means that Facebook has free reign to, say, read your private messages or track everything you do across the internet even after you leave Facebook, and then share that information possibly not with just with me, the pure-hearted dog biscuit entrepreneur, but also with Amazon or Spotify or people campaigning for Brexit or fascist governments. And in the case of Cambridge Analytica, certain Facebook apps were able to do that not just for the data of people who downloaded and used that app, but also for their friends. So is it worth it to you to have your data tracked by a company even if you don't interact with them? You're just friends with somebody who interacts with them. So with Apple's 14.5 update, they forced non-Apple apps to make users opt in or opt out of data sharing. Seems pretty cut and dry, right? They still let apps collect your data, but now you have to give your permission first. Facebook would probably like you to consider it a little less cut and dry, though, considering that at least one survey found that only 2% of iOS users say that they would actually agree to let a company track their data. My explanation might all sound very one-sided thus far, but that's just setup for this study, harming competition and consumers under the guise of protecting privacy, and analysis of Apple's iOS 14 policy updates. A revolutionary new scientific study that found that actually Apple's privacy update is bad. So before we talk about that, let me point out a few important facts. Number one, this analysis is wholly funded by Facebook. Number two, it's published on SSRN, formerly known as Social Science Research Network, which is not a peer-reviewed journal. It's not really a journal at all. It's just a website where anyone can upload a paper to get feedback, maybe before they submit it to an actual journal, just, to make sure their ducks are in a row. Also, just for some fun, here's a few important facts about me. Number one, I own Apple products and I use Facebook. Number two, I make money indirectly from Apple, from Facebook, and from other social media outlets, and from advertising things like Google AdSense, like you might see pop up on this very video. So I do have dual vested interests here. I do make more money if companies can track you and share your data. And number three, I distrust all large corporations. Honestly, a giant corporation like Apple fighting another giant corporation like Facebook is a real alien versus predator situation. Like, whoever wins, we lose. But okay, sure, when they're fighting, you can maybe figure that this one is a little less evil than this other one, so let's root for that guy. Like, I think it was Predator. Was Predator the good guy? I honestly don't remember. I do know that in Godzilla vs. King Kong, they were both the good guy, even though they probably murdered a lot of innocent people. Anyway, in this new study, Facebook argues, Facebook paid a law professor and an associate professor of business administration to argue that asking people if they want their private data to be tracked and shared is actually bad for a few reasons of varying levels of laughability. For instance, consumers will lose many valued free services they get from ad-supported apps. That's very true. As someone who desperately wants a company to make a mindless puzzle app that I can just pay for outright instead of having ads constantly interrupting my mindless puzzles, I can't wait to lose that valued free service. But I'm sure that some people would rather have ads than actually pay for apps. Those people can choose to give up their privacy. That's sort of the point. This notification gives people the option to share their data across apps and websites or not. If a lot of people choose not to share, as it seems they will, some apps will be forced to shut down or change how they make money or simply move to another platform that doesn't give users control over their privacy. Those platforms still exist, and in fact, they represent about 51% of the market. Another complaint that the paper alleges is that consumers will be left with less relevant, but not necessarily fewer ads. That's also true. And honestly, sometimes I know that I want like a new hoodie, but I don't know which one I want. So I really do just go to Google, I type in the word hoodie, and then I go back to Instagram and just scroll through the ads until I find a hoodie I like. I know I shouldn't do this, but I like it, okay? But honestly, I am happy to lose that tiny advantage in favor of not letting Facebook, the owner of Instagram, to continue profiting off of my private data without my consent. Other people may not want to give that up. They might like those targeted ads, at which point they can continue to allow Facebook and Instagram to track them across apps and websites. What this and many other complaints in the paper are actually arguing is that it is bad to give users a choice because they will choose to do something that hurts Facebook and their business model. Humans would just do the wrong thing if we gave them free will is the kind of argument a supervillain makes. Like, it's literally the plot of The Matrix. But that's the argument that they're making in this paper. The paper's authors only make one argument that I think actually might be compelling to an outside observer. So I'll just skip straight to that one. The new privacy prompt, they say, is bad because it only shows up on non-Apple apps. Notably, the authors write, this requirement does not apply to Apple's own apps and services. So that is a bad thing, right? If Apple's own apps can track you across apps and websites and share your data with third parties with no need for an opt-in, how is that fair? Well, it's not, but the good news is that that doesn't happen. That's not the way any of this works. Because you see, the paper itself cites Apple's privacy statement, and you can follow that link and go read it, and you can learn that Apple explicitly states our advertising platform doesn't share personally identifiable information with third parties, and Apple's advertising platform does not track you, meaning that it does not link user or device data collected from our apps with user or device data collected from third parties for targeted advertising or advertising measurement purposes, and does not share user or device data with data brokers. So no, this would not allow Apple's own apps to track users across different apps and websites. That's how Apple's ad network has always worked, and they've given no indication that they're planning to change that. In fact, They won't change that because that's the entire point of Apple's ad network. That is how they are offering a unique selling proposition for their network. Apple's ad platform is known as Skepchick Network, which they specifically built as a response to the privacy concerns of users. Essentially, when a user clicks an ad, all identifying information about the user is stripped and aggregated before it goes back to the advertiser to tell them someone clicked your ad. Meaning that the advertiser knows that their ad was successful, but they have no way to track any one user. As far as user privacy goes, that's an objectively better way to do things than other ad networks. So does that mean that these new privacy opt-ins will favor Apple's ad network over other ad networks? Yes, absolutely. This is the walled garden that Apple has become famous for. If advertisers want to get on Apple devices, they're going to get better results using Apple's ad network because it's the only one prioritizing privacy. Literally none of this would have happened if Facebook hadn't built an entire billion-dollar corporation based on tricking people into handing over their personal data or having that personal data secretly swiped. But since Apple is the biggest, most successful corporation that is currently pushing for better user privacy, and they're the ones who are selling both the phones and the ad network that goes on the phones, does that make them a monopoly? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I do know that it makes me extremely uncomfortable. Like I said, this is an alien versus predator situation. And once the alien is dead, the predator isn't just going to suddenly be cool with us. So I would much prefer that other large corporations follow suit and that the days of these companies profiting off of exploiting our privacy are numbered. Oh, but anyway, this new paper is not science. It's propaganda paid for by Facebook. The end.